Once in Saudi Arabia, I checked with the Kuwaiti embassy, only to find that all those fabulous jobs to rebuild Kuwait were a myth. However, they needed workers with demolition experience. I darkened my hair so I would look younger, and I lied about my experience and my age. I then signed a 9-month contract to a destiny that only a devil might tempt one to. They needed men with demolition experience to locate and destroy mines, to make the oil fields secure for follow-up crews to extinguish flames and cap the wells. When I arrived in Kuwait, there was a mobile home awaiting my use, and in the distance, I could see great plumes of fire and smoke coming from those flaming oil wells. There had been few takers, and I'd heard these were terrible jobs, but that was an understatement. It was truly a devil's playground, trudging through those oily and parched sands among the great plumes of roaring fire and smoke was as close to hell as one might imagine. However, the job had one redeeming value. The pay was fabulous. I realized what it meant to sell one's soul. The only worst fate I could imagine would be to return to the madness of violent traffic on tangled freeways, medical centers, and the constant harbingers of Americans' political fate. To make a long nightmare short, it was the 7th month of a 9-month contract, and there I was working ankle-deep in the oily sand. Walter was wearing his leather booties, which I had fashioned to keep the oil from between his toes. Yet oily sand covered his belly and his haunches. My hair was curling from head to toe, when suddenly I got this strong reading on my metal detector. I set a charge to blow up what was hidden beneath the oily sand. When the charge blew, I knew it was not a mine, because whatever was down there seemed to remain intact. I dug quickly before the hole started to fill with oil. Walter joined in the digging and quickly uncovered what was hidden beneath the sand. There lay a small oil-soaked bronze and wood chest, half petrified from age and shattered from the blast. The chest contained a great number of thin, badly soiled metal plates. I scratched one and muttered, "Voila!" as the blood rushed to my head. It had shown the color of gold. I nervously looked about with a feeling of guilt, but there was no one nearby or watching. So I secured the broken chest with the gold plates in a canvas bag, and I hid them in the carryall. Walter sensed my apprehension, and he would not allow anyone near. The Arabs called him the devil dog. That evening I again had a feeling of guilt as I unloaded the canvas bag, and I snuck it into my quarters. I spent the next 2 months in careful cleaning of the gold plates. All had been neatly scribed on both sides. I went to the library, and with a little research, I determined they had been scribed in both Egyptian and hieroglyphics and ancient Greek. I pondered what to do. I had no chance of deciphering the plates myself. I remembered having attended a seminar on ancient Mediterranean culture at college. It had been conducted by Professor Geikus. I then recalled that he was from Switzerland. So I inquired, and I found out that since he had retired, he was living in a chalet on the east shore of Lake Zurich. When my contract was completed, I loaded up my little car, and I hid the gold plates carefully in Walter's oily mat. Then we traveled overland to Zurich. After we left Istanbul, we were detained at the Turkish border. Walter stood fast on the soiled mat with his tail wagging and his upper lips nervously flashing his huge canine teeth. When the guards saw his mixed signals, they never felt it was worth their while to challenge his protective nature, and they did not examine the oily mat. The trip was long and rugged, and the guards at all the other checkpoints, they just smiled at us. At the desert-worn, diminutive car, as they examined my papers and asked a few questions. Fortunately, no one had searched our car thoroughly, and the gold plates remained hidden. When we arrived at the professor's home, his housekeeper greeted me and took me to his study overlooking the lake. A beautiful rose garden made by an Arab gardener It was so elegant. The professor was a kindly old gentleman. He became a very charming host when I told him that I had attended a seminar some years earlier in the States. When I spoke of the gold plates, he became very eager to see what I had brought. I produced the first 5 gold plates. He examined them with a magnifying lens, and he studied them for quite some time. The old man's lips began to quiver and his voice trembled as he said, I believe these are genuine. They're written 550 BC by an Egyptian priest named Landisfarny. We must turn these plates over to the Egyptian government. I agreed, but I added, I first wanted something out of this for my discovery. If you decipher the plates, you may have their content for your scientific journals, and I at least get a story. He agreed. I furnished a few plates at a time for us to work on. He was a wonderful old gentleman to work with, as it was his nature to explain everything in great detail. So I was able to get the very best story possible. We had been working on the last plates when Walther and I returned to our room at the inn. When we got to the door, Walther's hackles rose as he sensed something was wrong. Our room had been broken into and ransacked. All the gold plates and my journals were gone. And my word processor had been smashed. Walther went about the room methodically sniffing everything. And the professor's chalet had also been robbed of the remaining gold plates and his journals. After heavy questioning by the police, his housekeeper broke down and admitted eavesdropping and spoke carelessly about the gold plates when she was drunk at the inn.